Good evening and welcome back to CNN Money Switzerland. I'm Olivia Chang. It's time to bring you your top headlines for tonight. The Swiss government today announced a host of new measures. First of all, an additional 14 billion Swiss francs will now go towards unemployment insurance funding. Since March, about 190,000 companies have applied for the short-term program of wage subsidies. This affects about 37% of employees across the country. Now, on the issue of vaccines, Interior Minister Alain Berset did say the Swiss government is in touch with Lonza about the potential COVID-19 vaccine. It's trying to ensure good access to the product, but did acknowledge that this would require international cooperation. Lonza's interim CEO Albert Benny told us on the program this week that he expects mass production of the vaccine as early as December. And finally, aid is also being poured into the Swiss wine sector. It has been heavily impacted from the shutdown of restaurants as well as closures of events. It's hoped the industry can be partially boosted by the latest financial support of about 10 million Swiss francs. Meanwhile, Switzerland Stock Exchange SIX is adding an extra 10 minutes to its trading hours. This was reported by AWT today, and it will start from June the 22nd. After 5:30 p.m, the brief window will allow trades at the closing price. Back in March, the supervisor for Switzerland's financial industry relaxed several rules on how much money banks have to put aside for potential losses. FINMA said the goal was to help lenders during the pandemic and to free up credit for the crippled economy. Today, it extended some of those measures until the end of the year. They were actually due to expire in July. Now, a Swiss startup is heading to the Big Apple. Mobility tech firm Axon Vibe is trying to make those commutes just a little bit more smoother in New York. That's especially for overnight essential workers during this whole period. Take a listen.
Imagine having to get to work at 2 in the morning when New York's subway is closed for cleaning. Essential Connector is an app developed in Switzerland to tackle just that. It gives essential workers access to alternative transport to get to work.
We got a request from the MTA, so the Metropolitan Transport Authority from New York, if we can quickly launch an app which in one hand informs the user, the essential workers, what kind of public transport system are available, and on the other hand, especially during the downtime between 1 and 5, offers them car for hire rides through to different kind of car for hire operators in New York, where MTA is going to pay the costs. And what we do, there are essentially two components in the app. So one is that you can book these car for hire services through to these different providers through to the app. And the second one is that we inform also people about disruptions in the subway network and further down the line about crowds potentially in the network and beyond the network to avoid COVID-19 infections.
And how did a Swiss company like yours even get to work with the New York subway?
Senator Cuomo announced an initiative, a so-called public-private partnership initiative, where startups could submit their solutions. Actually, we have been selected in a program out of more than 100 companies to work with MTA over a 1-year-long pilot through to the Transit Tech Lab. And just before the end, which is the 11th of June this year, of the kind of pilot, we had to shift our initiative, which essentially has been about personalized information in case of disruptions for MTA users towards to this kind of COVID-19 situation straight away.
And what are the next steps now for your New York project? Is it kind of done from your side, or is there anything else coming up?
I don't know how much I can say here. There's anything else coming up. There will be a broader strategy behind that kind of pilot project so far. So we are more than happy that we did the first step and that we can now focus on the situation where New York is in right now. And we do hope that we have solutions for after the crisis as well.
Do you know how many people are actually using it so far?
Yeah, we just started, and I can put the figures briefly in here. So we're talking about 11,000 essential workers. At the moment, we do have around 20% on the app itself, increasing day by day.
Meanwhile, Swiss biopharmaceutical company Idorsia has also raised 313 million Swiss francs via a share offering. Proceeds from the fundraising round will help launch the firm's first commercial product to help deal with insomnia, as well as other drugs in the pipeline. Trading of the shares will begin on or around Friday, the company said today. The coronavirus pandemic is wreaking havoc on the global hospitality industry, and that also includes hostels. We look at one campaign that's trying to give them a lifeline. CNN Money Switzerland is a partner with Save2020.org.
How many of you have pictures like these? Trips abroad where you paid little money for shared rooms, bathrooms, and meals, rubbing elbows with new people on a daily basis. It's called the hostel experience, and like most of the tourism sector worldwide, it's in trouble. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, more than 100 million positions and some $2.7 trillion in GDP could be at risk as a result of the current crisis. And this includes your favorite auberge.
For hostels particularly, it's an extremely tough time. The margins are often quite tight in the industry. The summer season is usually the time when most hostel owners are busy and they make their money. So it's a pretty tough environment for them to operate with no certainty of when they can open again.
Add to that the challenge of the social distancing factor, which according to Bhattacharya throws quite a wrench into the logistics of a business model built on sharing.
Hostels are generally very social spaces, and social distancing is the kind of concept that would probably be easier to implement in a hotel or an apartment. Nowadays in hostels, you have dorms and private rooms. In private rooms, it's not a problem, but in dorms, it means that only a certain number of people can be hosted in a dorm. So what many hostels are now doing is that they're converting these dorms into spaces for families or groups, and the privates can go towards a couple or an individual traveler. And then on top of that, assigning bathrooms to each and every traveler so that they don't have to share that. It means less revenue for the hostels, and that can cause a lot of issues.
The Travel Writer solution is a voucher platform called adoptahostel.com, born of a conversation with friends from companies Hotel.Consulting and Stay the Night. It's also currently supported by CNN Money Switzerland partner Save2020.org. How does one go about adopting a hostel? I mean, how does this work?
People can go on the platform, they can select a hostel from any of the cities involved. There's over 50 countries involved. And a lot of these hostels are places that I have visited, that we've all visited for many years. And there are people we know who will take great care of the travelers. And the other good thing is that if you buy a voucher, you're getting automatically a 10% discount on a normal rate. Adding that little digital layer was, I guess, this little innovation at the heart of this idea, and also bringing the hostels together in a global platform. I think that's what has captured the imagination of people.
Thus far, the 3-week-old campaign for the platform has raised $53,000 from 1,200 adoptees. How do you vet these hostels?
You always check whether they're on the hostel platform, and we obviously check if they're a hostel, because we only want to promote hostels, not hotels or guest houses. So they have to have a dorm facility, they have to have shared facilities, and they have to be seen as hostels, not hotels.
And while hotels far outnumber their more low-cost siblings, Bhattacharya insists hostels are more than just places to rest your head.
When you stay in a hostel, you're directly investing in the local economy. And I think travelers in this post-COVID era will be more conscious about spending money in places where people really, it goes really into the local economy and about giving tourism a human face. And I think these hostels are important that they survive and they stay, because if you take hostels out of the infrastructure of a city, of a tourism experience, then you're left with just bland, often chain hotels, and who wants to stay in those?
Now, to finish up, what does the current coronavirus crisis mean for the future of the Swiss art market? Tanja Koenig asked Swiss art industry veteran and former chairman of Philipp Auction House, Simon de Pury.
He's known as the Mick Jagger of art auctions. 69-year-old Simon de Pury isn't your typical auctioneer. Active on social media and known for wooing his followers, he's been in the art business for over 50 years. The high flyer, who is now known for charity auctions, used to be chairman of Sotheby's Europe and chairman and owner of Phillips Auction House. With many auctions in spring now postponed, there is lots of confusion as to what happens next.
First of all, we don't know whether we can fly to the UK or we can fly to New York. For the moment, we can't. And even if we can at some stage, I'm not sure that people will want to go into a crowded sale room. Probably not. Now, this will not be a real problem for conducting auctions, because even before the Corona crisis, the big evening sales, while they happened in front of packed standing room audience only, the top buyers and the top bidding did take place from collectors from all over the world who are bidding over the phone, either from their offices, from their homes, from their swimming pools, or else they type in their bids online, and then the bids would be seen by the auctioneer from the podium. So effectively, you can very easily have a top-notch auction without any physical attendance, as long as the auctioneer is linked to all the key buyers around the world.
The people in the auction room are actually more for the show effect and for the auctioneer to actually have a real audience, but most of them, as you said, are the big buyers are on the phone or online. So do you think that online auctions are the future?
Online auctions will be the great winners of what we are going through now. The online market has been extremely slow to develop. The art market is probably the only market that has so far successfully resisted the technological revolution. Now, I think that after just 2 months of Corona, the online market is making great leaps forward. And I think that going further into this year, the online auction business will develop in a way it has not done for the last 10 years.
So I can see that you're really an advocate for digitalization and technology.
First of all, we have to, and necessity brings invention. And I think a lot of very creative things will happen now as a result of what we're living through. But most of all, I feel that artists themselves are going to be very stimulated by what is going on, because over the years, more and more artists were being pressurized, successful artists were being pressurized by the market that was going more and more from one fair to another art fair. And so each artist had to produce for the next art fair, for the next booth, for the next thing, and were producing for the market as opposed to producing for their own art. Now that pressure is off, and I think that artists can, measure themselves against art history and not against what the current market or the current trend may be or may not be. Because even when you're a professional and if you're inside the market, you could no longer follow it. The art market had become a traveling circus, which was setting up its tent in a different place, not only every week, but nearly every second day. And in all of these places, you would see the same cast of characters, same people, and you would look at the art by the same group of artists. So in a way, it is healthy for all of us to have a time to reflect, have a time to look at it with slightly different eyes, with a little more distance, and see, what we could change in our lives and what we could change the market going forward.
That's all from us for now, but remember, if you want to follow any of our coverage, you can simply head over to cnnmoney.ch for all of our latest content. In the meantime, take care, stay safe, and we will see you very shortly. Good evening.